Yeah, it's about the bag with the triple single crew. We got Ronnie, Doc, Antonio, the real deal too. They coming and dropping knowledge, you know that they get to work. You know the triple single cover Bay Area sports. You know I'm coming hard, I don't feel like I'm in a hurry. Like number 30, I really got the range like Stephen Curry. Get a couple rings and
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Triple Single crew. Thank you so much again for joining me, Doc, Ronnie. We're all back. Thanks so much again. And, we got some good stuff to get to, fellas. But first and foremost, we got to get into what, the Dub season, which I think was a success in many ways. And in a way, kind of a blessing in disguise in terms of us not having to extend Curry and extend Draymond and more than we should, because we'd be playing Utah. If it was a regular season type of situation, number 1 versus 8, we'd be playing Utah, and so we'd play at least 4 games.
Yep.
And we know that we're undermanned. So just wanted to get your take on if you want to talk about the Laker game, the Memphis game, the season as a whole. So I'll just let you guys shoot. Go ahead, Doc, I guess.
Yeah. I can give my thoughts. I saw that earlier today, Bob Myers, I think, was on 95.7 The Game, and he mentioned just kind of his own thoughts on the season and some of the highlights. And he mentioned how he told Jordan Poole and JTA that the game against the Lakers was like a Western Conference Finals atmosphere. Like that was the energy that was put into that game, and that he was highly impressed. These aren't his specific words, but this is my assumption based off what I read, that he was obviously highly impressed with the way they performed during that game, right? Just the swagger that they carried themselves with, the confidence, and the way that their production, right? JTA had an amazing game. Jordan Poole had an amazing game. Unfortunately, we didn't come out on top, but it's clear that these guys are not afraid of the big lights. And so that was cool to hear that he's like engaging some of those pieces that will have to continue to improve and play a big role next year for us to be successful. It's great to hear that he's engaging with them in that way. But as far as the season, what I'll say, I agree with you, Real Deal. I think it was a success with all things considered. Clay being injured on draft day, such a heartbreaker even to think about to this day. Wiseman being a little bit raw, and not to his fault, right? He missed almost all, if not all, of his college basketball season. He was only 19, right? And then dealing with injuries, right? He was dealing with injuries throughout the whole damn season. So it wasn't like he had a chance to gain any rhythm. Or when he was healthy, then some of our star players were injured. Draymond was injured. Curry was injured. So it's like, how are we going to build chemistry? You know what I mean? Like, we don't have the guys that we want on the floor at all times. And so I think it's a success because there's a high probability that we get the Timberwolves draft pick. I am crossing my finger that we get 4 or 6 because I don't think we're capable of getting 5. There's some weird thing where 5 is like not obtainable. But if we get 4 or 6 or even 7, that would be already an amazing asset, whether we keep it or whether we package it for something more. Hint, hint, Clippers are down 2-0. I don't know if Kawhi is going to want to stay. Just throwing that as a possibility. We're going to have assets one way or another. Oubre could either be a guy we bring back or is another trade asset because we have his bird rights. Wiggins, who played amazing this season, that might be the perfect asset to trade too, right? He amazing considering all things, right, that has gone into his career.
He was durable, and he was durable.
Played every game of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And
played really well defensively. Yep.
And who knows? And I'm gonna put this out there too. James Wiseman might be an asset in a trade package, right?
Yeah, I've heard that.
We like his potential. He might be an asset. So we have a lot of chips to play with. We just got to use them properly.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah,
go ahead, Ron, jump in, man.
Yeah, I think the Warriors season was also successful. Start off with Steph Curry, who's an MVP candidate this year at age 33. The things that he did this past season were just unbelievable. But to us Dub fans, we've seen it before, and it's just really fun to see it, especially with him being quadruple team, triple teamed, and still doing what he does. So that was really fun to watch. And also, like, it kind of sucks that they lost the 2 games in the play-in tournament, but if you really take it into consideration, like Curry playing in another playoff, that's going to get him really tired. So I think them getting this rest and then having all those draft picks this upcoming season, especially with the prospects that are going to be there, I think it'd be worth it with Clay coming back, with Wiseman being healthy, just with all those young players like Nico Mannion, Jordan Poole, JTA. It's exciting. Just be patient, and they're going to be rolling again.
Mhm.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you for touching on those guys too, because JTA. I mean, I know that's Doc's guy. He's my guy too, and I know he's your guy. I mean, down the stretch, I mean, Juan Toscano Anderson, man, was just when he was in the game, we were better. I
Yeah.
mean, and you couldn't really say that, and sometimes significantly better. You couldn't really say that about Oubre. You couldn't always say that about Wiggins early in the season when he
No.
was struggling offensively. So, what Juan did to improve his 3-point shooting, to just improve as a defender to me, and as a help rebounder, I mean, his passing got better. I think every facet of his game got better, and he's just that lightning rod, that
Yeah.
spark plug, excuse me. Reminds me a little bit of like kind of like Angel Pagan, It's
Mhm.
this guy. It's like you
Mhm.
needed that boost of energy, and that's what he brings you. He brings some kind of fire that
Yeah.
we were missing. And Clay coming back next year is going to be huge. But I think the two biggest things, I know, keep praying,
Yeah.
he'll be back. But the
Yeah.
two biggest developments were Jordan Poole and JTA. And
Yeah.
Jordan Poole, man, after coming back from the G, he found something there. He found himself. He became better. He looked stronger.
Yeah.
His body looked a little bit different. I know a lot of people can't tell those things, but when you're as crazy of a fan as we are, we notice when guys get stronger.
Yeah.
Steph looked stronger. He looked more fit.
Yeah. Yep. It
At
was.
age 33, he
Yep.
was, right? I mean, and so I think I agree with you, Ronnie. Like, it's a blessing in disguise. I mean, look, what did we learn this year? Steph is still as great as ever, maybe even a little bit greater. He had to be.
Yeah.
We found out that we still have some great pieces to, like you said, Antonio, maybe Doc, whether it's Wiggins, whether it's Oubre. I probably lean on keeping Wiggins. And then if you want to
Yep.
package Oubre, like that's probably what I would do. But we learned that. And then JTA, Poole. I mean, and remember, we didn't even have our guy Justinian Jessup play,
Yep.
who I just watched another clip of him uh, getting beat up by Jordan Bell and just getting Jordan Bell got abused
Yeah.
on like
Yeah.
fade away 3-point shots, whatever. I know it's practice, but that guy looks exactly like Clay physically. And if he's a very poor man's Clay, I mean, man, that's a great player right there. And then plus the 2 picks we got. So, I mean, tell me though, who do you guys think we're gonna take, man? Like, do you think we'll get the 6th, or are we moving up? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, so I'll interject first. I was talking to a buddy of mine, shout out frat Ian Talley, huge Warrior fans out of Memphis, but he's a Warrior fan, so he's rooting
Yep,
for
yep.
Warriors against the Grizz. And we were talking back and forth, and we both came to the same conclusion that this offseason is probably the biggest offseason in Bob Myers' career. And what we meant by that is that this season, Steph proved that he is still worth investing in for the next 3 or 4 years, meaning that you might trade some of these young assets, even though you would prefer to have a balance of looking into the future, which I know I was initially wanting. But I actually see us exploring trade options where it might include Wiggins, Wiseman, and potentially one of those number 1 draft picks, right? Wiggins to make the money work. Wiseman, right? That's a top 2 pick from this past year, and then maybe even that 6th or 7th pick. That's a pretty good package, if you ask me. That might be able to land us a superstar who's on a team that maybe gets bounced out this first round in the playoffs and does not want to stay there. Some guys that come to mind, even though we know the fit might not be ideal, might still be a Bradley Beal, right? That might still be an option there. Kawhi Leonard, I know that might sound a little wild, but if the Clippers get bounced in the first round, right? I don't think I personally
Yeah.
don't know if he's still going to believe that that's a place he can win a championship at, as much as that's home for him. And I think whatever player that is, in my opinion, that team isn't going to have a lot of leverage, because I think that player is going to want out, right? So that's going to take the leverage away. And so we'll still have to give him a pretty good package. But like I said, a Wiggins, Wiseman, and the number 6 pick, I think that could land as a superstar. And I think this season, Curry showed that he just needs one other superstar to help him. And if he can get Clay back and another superstar with Draymond, hopefully hungry again, with JTA and Jordan Poole, I
And
think
Wiseman.
well, not if Wiseman gets traded though, right? Not if Wiseman's a part of that packet.
Yeah, that's true.
And maybe we just
Yeah.
get a center, some center, right? Because we'll still have another top 20 pick with our own pick. So maybe we bring in another young guy, right?
Yeah,
If you were to
yeah.
do the redraft right now with all of Wiseman's struggles and his injuries, I've seen some mock drafts that have been redone. he goes in the top 15, doesn't even go top 5 anymore, right?
Wow.
And that could be
Yeah.
narrow sighted, but right, that's some feelings around
Yeah.
the league. We're Warriors fans, so of course we're gonna hope that he still lives up to the potential. But some people are kind of giving up already on it, and saying that
Well,
we're gonna regret not taking LaMelo.
I don't know. What do you think, Ronnie? I don't know about that.
I mean, you know, Curry definitely showed that he just needs like one more superstar, like Doc said. I mean, if Klay Thompson was out there, I feel like Curry wouldn't have done as much work as he needed to be to give his team a fighting chance to win. So, you know, with Curry there just doing what he's been doing, Klay Thompson back at least 70 to 75% back. I mean, that's all
Yeah.
like
Sounds
honestly
good.
Curry needs.
Yep.
You know, Draymond just being the heart and soul of the team, the facilitator. And then, you know, like, you know, Doc said, potentially Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard. I know when you think of it, it just sounds like really crazy, but anything can happen, man. So, you know, I think
Yeah.
there would be nothing wrong with like, you know, trading like a James Wiseman because, you know, obviously, you know, he's still pretty young. So, you know, he still has a bunch of potential. I mean, he's 19, 20 years old. So he's really
20
young.
now. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, I wouldn't, if the Warriors want to win now, I feel like they would have to, you know, look at their trade options just because, you know, Curry's 33, Clay's like 31, Draymond is like 32. So if they want to at least win like one more or even a couple now, I believe that looking at your trade options would definitely like, you know, help the team out even more to try and win now, especially with the West because it's just so tough to win in the
Stacked.
West.
The West is stacked, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, what I learned too is like if you have a big man you can just throw the ball down to and you need that bucket down low, that's still important. And I mean, if you have Clay back, that just makes that guy even more dangerous. I think with Wiseman, I do think he's going to keep getting better and developing. But I have to say, I agree with you guys in that I still see him more as a rim runner. So he's kind of more of like that JaVale McGee,
Yep.
but I don't trust him to be a kind of guy that's going to always get 10 plus rebounds a game until he gets stronger
Yeah.
and also develop a good jump shot like I thought he would, at least not in his second year. So it's one of those things, like you guys said, you have to play the time game.
Yep.
Are we going to wait 2 years for this kid to possibly be great? Like Steph, we were able to wait on all those ankle injuries because the team sucked.
Yeah. There
So
was no pressure there.
there was no pressure, but once you got to like 2012, 13, 14, you're like, oh man, we better get it together now because now they're ready to go. So I see what you guys are saying. I do think, and I'll just throw a crazy name out there, but if you wanted to trade for someone like Domantas Sabonis or somebody like that, not
Actually,
that
yeah, that's who my fraternity brother brought up. Actually, Sabonis.
I like Sabonis from his Gonzaga days just
Yep.
because we know he's really skilled. I mean, it's not just the bloodlines like we always like to talk about, but it's a guy who he's going to rebound. He's strong. He's very skilled. He has a jump shot.
Yep.
He's kind of like David West light,
Yep.
and younger, but which is what we need really, even with Clay coming back.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I see. Like if you're going to do that, then yes. But if not, there's just no center in this draft after Mobley that to me is such a game changer. The only other guy, like I like Kai Jones, but I think he's
that's
also
who
another
I was
kind of
thinking,
project.
Kai Jones. Yep.
I like Kai Jones, but again, it's kind of a project. And beyond that, like I mean, Scotty Barnes is that kind of point forward at 6'9". So again, you're looking at that like Looney type size, and and Loon played, was dependable this year, but again, that's not somebody who you can rely on to be your starting center. So
yeah, and
even with
Looney
Clay
and
back,
Draymond probably shouldn't be on the court if you don't have scorers on the court.
that's exactly right.
Man,
Even with Clay back,
Yeah,
I still don't. Yeah, because I think you need to have that other option, to either to combat whatever the Lakers are doing or to go up against the Sixers and all these guys that have a lot of depth and firepower. Obviously, Phoenix. So I don't know, fellas. I've been looking at these mock drafts and I'm just like, I like Scotty Barnes. I think we could get him and definitely get him at 6, but he's a wing to me. He's not that difference maker center that you could put there in case you want to move on from Wiseman. So
yeah. And I think the last thing I'll say is it all comes down to timeline. Like what timeline are the Warriors willing to play with, and how much is Draymond and Curry gonna have a say on that, right? Because let me be honest, they can love Wiseman the player, and they can still say like he's not the guy. Like in the next 3 years, he's not the guy that's gonna help us win a championship. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So he has to be on the trade block if it brings us somebody like Sabonis, or I mean, this name was thrown out last season too, but even a Miles Turner guy defends
Yeah.
the
I
paint.
like Miles.
He started to develop a bit of a three ball, right? Probably is going to shoot 30%, but hey, as a center, that's not the worst thing in the world, right?
Yeah.
It helps space the floor, and that's another defensive player of the year candidate. And I think he's only 25 himself, so it's not like he has
Yeah.
a lot of miles on under him. So that might even be a guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all you need is a guy who's 10 and 10, 10 points, 10 rebounds, block some shots. You need a presence though.
Yep.
You can't go without one when you're going dry from 3-point land or the jumper, you know. And so,
Mhm.
you know, lots to think about. Definitely. I think we threw out some really good stuff, fellas. And so please, again, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, excuse me, and make sure that you leave us some comments. Let us know what kind of content you want to hear about. And with that, keep following us on Twitter and Instagram at TSC Bay Area. Thanks so much, everybody. See ya.
See you, everybody.